As far as I'm concerned, John Lewis and Elijah Cummings were the neutralizers of idiocracy in the United States Congress. Since they passed, all bets are off. People like Nancy Pelosi bowed down in kente cloth and prayed and said, "We have our assignment. He gave us our assignment." And she did absolutely the opposite. So those of you who now are new to the civil rights movement, I have this to say for you. If you think that you are somebody because a United States Senator latches on to your movement, you are absolutely no one. We don't respect you. We don't get you. And all you are doing is the same thing Nancy Pelosi did. See, what she did was once the reins were off, she was free to become Speaker of the House and basically reign over all of Black America under the auspices of living out the legacy of people like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, John Lewis, and Elijah Cummings. And so you come up in here years later, protesting in Washington, D.C., and decide as a white American that you know better than the rest of us. And with that, you ally yourselves with people like Al Green. Back in the day of John Lewis and Elijah Cummings, I respected him. However, this is a new day, a new agenda. When Black people get on stage and tell people that look like me how to behave and how to protect our families, we have a problem with that. If you call yourself an activist and advocate that, you have not done your research. And I'm speaking specifically to the people that made these speeches before November 22nd. I give all props to Flair and the people living in those tents, not living, but occupying those tents outside of Union Station, because they are out there in the cold and the heat and everything, and they have been out there since May. However, I have a problem with white people allying with Black people whose ancestors were enslaved, telling other Black people how to behave when it comes to defending their families, their property, and their lives. So when they tell you, if you are pro-violence, you are not with us. And then fail to prevent violence on the streets of Washington, D.C., Chicago, Minneapolis, and many other cities, including Los Angeles. They fail to prevent that violence. They don't speak against it. Where is Al Green after that speech he made? So it is okay for the United States government to perpetuate violence on American citizens. And people who protest in Washington, D.C. will ally themselves with these individuals so long as it serves their cause. I have a problem with that. But I digress. Welcome to the Woke Socialist Network. We are woke, we are socialist, and we are not going anywhere. At this point in time, I have to remove my organization, which is about 300 strong right now, from attending any other functions in Washington, D.C. aside from going to the flare tent, because I have an internal problem with black people in Congress demanding that we be nonviolent because they want to associate themselves with a rally in Washington, D.C. I have a fucking problem with that. You know why? Because a white man named John Brown got himself killed protecting black people against slavery. I have a problem with people, the colored troops that served in the Civil War to protect black people against violence. I have a problem with people telling us not to be violent. In World War II, when black enlisted men came here and got beat up and their eyes gouged out by white Americans simply for wearing a military uniform. So at the precipice of the most violent time in American history, where it is a racial onslaught against anyone who is not white. Black members of the American Congress tell us that if you're violent, you're not with us. So if I choose to exercise my Second Amendment right to protect my family, I'm violent. The same right that white people have beat into our heads that they deserve. If I'm assaulted by a police officer for no reason other than being black or Latino or Native American, I'm violent. If a white person in Washington, D.C., or any other citizen, under the laws of that state, stand your ground, and others, jumps on my body and protects my person, that person is being violent. Because that is the way white America sees it. That is the way corporate media broadcasts it. And that is the way Congress sees it. Why? It's called a guaranteed check. Members of Congress are not your friends because you're doing a protest in Washington, D.C. Al Green is not your friend. Hakeem Jeffries is not your friend. No one is your friend. Until such time as they give what we give, not you sucking up to them, but we who have sacrificed 20 plus years in this fucking movement, not until that time are they your friend. But they are subscribing to exactly what Donald Trump wants them to. The difference between your movement and my movement is after January 1st, it's our turn. Your shit didn't work. Ours will. Because when that clock turns on January 1, 1201, we will begin to defend our families against fascism. And when we do, you can lead, follow, or get the fuck out of our way. But you will not dictate to us what we do in our streets, our neighborhoods, and our country. You are guests here. And that's all. But nothing you do from here on out that is peaceful is going to impact the wrath of this regime. This is fascism. Absolute fascism. Yes, we need to be in the streets. Yes, we need to have protests. But we need to have 5 million people in the streets every day. And since you don't have that, you need to let the people who know what they're doing do what they do best. There are 340 million people in the United States of America. And the whole of the military that has been disbanded by Donald Trump and Doge are the greatest geniuses ever to hit this land on our earth. Let them do their work. Let these ex-military people educate the rest of us. Shut the fuck up, get the numbers out there, and let people that have been doing this, who have the experience, do this. Let us do the movement now. Nothing has changed. except that they know there's a resistance. The next step for every person in America, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, is to survive and live. And if you don't look like me, you are not in a position to dictate my fate to me through law or through YouTube. That is all I have to say about that. So we're going to do some more videos, I hope, before we get out on the street, because I got to get out on the street soon. But this is this is the first broadcast of the Woke Socialists. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you didn't, I hope you fucking learned something.